Politics, families, and the holidays. Is that a toxic mess or not? What's your opinion? Let me know, and we're going to talk about it. So, do comment below. Do you like to talk politics at a family gathering? Or do you hate it and do you want to avoid it? There are some people who would rather talk about politics than anything else, right? And then there also are people who have a very high degree of comfort with conflict and disagreement, and they love debate and they love to argue. But I probably hear more often from those people who really don't want to get into political discussions, particularly with family members who are on the opposite side of the spectrum from them. And I get asked a lot, how do I navigate this situation? So I'm actually going to provide some guidance that I think could facilitate a more pleasant holiday environment for everybody. Now, the other thing motivating this discussion right now is that this is going to be really the first time post-pandemic that a lot of us are getting together with an extended family system, right? So the last couple of holidays, we maybe had very small gatherings, or if people lived in different parts of the country, they didn't travel as much. So this is sort of a new thing again. It's like we are reforming, right? Possibly some old traditions, or maybe we are starting some new ones. But the holiday gatherings for most people are likely to be a little bit larger than they were over the last couple of years. And this is really worldwide, right? And then also, our politics here in the US have been incredibly divisive. And then the pandemic kind of really heated all of that up. But we're not alone. Like, the divisive politics going on worldwide right now is pretty dramatic, right? So you might have a family where everybody is on the same side of the political spectrum, or maybe, just sort of small variations. Or you might have people who are on opposite ends of the political spectrum. And you also might have a handful of family members who are really domineering about their opinions and very loud and abrasive, insistent, nonstop, right? And will go on and on and on. All right, what do you do? So let's talk just sort of in general. If you are somebody who does like to debate politics, it's great. It can be fun. You probably already know which people enjoy it and which ones don't. And if you're not one of those dominating people, which my guess is you would not be watching this video if you were, right? Those are not the people who watch my videos. But if you do like to debate politics, you can pick up on the signals if you are willing to be aware of the energy in the room, right? And like, okay, have we talked about this too much? Or is somebody getting personally upset? And just back off a little bit, right? Or take your discussion with the person you like to talk about it with, out to the porch or into the kitchen or out of the kitchen, right? And so similarly, if you're in a part of the house where the discussion is about politics and you really don't want to listen anymore, you can go for a walk. You can go help do dishes. You can go play with a niece, right? You can move around. But obviously, those are sort of the simple solutions. And that's not usually, the questions I get are usually not about really easy situations. So I'm going to take two different situations and you can sort of extrapolate from these, I think, some tools you can use. So let's take Uncle Paul, who is on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you. And he likes to go on and on, is an insistent, and might put you down for your beliefs and might be completely unaware of the energy in the room. And maybe it's actually a situation where everybody else in the family is bothered by it. In which case, somebody in the family, right? It could be the person who's either closest to him, or it could be kind of a person who has some authority within the family, or like the matriarch, or someone could say, Uncle Paul, we can't wait to see you. We love you. We want to have you at our family gathering, but we've all kind of decided we really don't want to talk about politics. And if you do start going on about politics, I'd like to be able to give you a signal to let you know that it's probably time to stop, right? So that could be an approach ahead of time. Now, that still doesn't mean Uncle Paul will stop, in which case people can leave the table. Or someone can interrupt him and say, Uncle Paul, I know this is really important to you, but right now we want to focus on catching up with what each of us has been doing, or we want to hear from this family member about their work or their school or whatever, or we want to go for a walk, right? Divert, interrupt, and divert is okay. So sometimes that does happen that you have like pretty much a whole family and they're like, yeah, we really do want to invite Uncle Paul, but ooh, does he bring the mood down, right? So dealing with it in a directish way can be helpful while reiterating your desire to be with the person. Now, if it's not that clear cut, then it's really about setting boundaries for yourself and by yourself. What are you willing to do? What aren't you willing to do? If you end up sitting next to Uncle Paul and he starts going into politics, you could say, Uncle Paul, I'm so glad to see you. I know this is really, really important to you, but I really don't want to talk about this now. If you want to talk about it, I'll leave so that someone else can come sit down. But if you're willing to change the topic and talk about what else is he interested in, anything, the stock market, I don't know, fishing, bring up something that he's interested in, right? Change the topic. And then some people want to be more direct, and some people might say, honestly, your political views are actually very offensive to me, and I really don't want to go down that road right now. Can we change the topic? And then it's up to you to enforce the change of topic. So if the other person doesn't change the topic, I need to go refill my water. I need to go take a break. I'm going to go hang out outside, right? You don't have to subject yourself to a discussion that you find personally offensive, which a lot of people right now with politics are finding, the opposite view extremely difficult. And people are like shouting about it and not hearing it, right? Like, so those people who love political discourse, often they're people who are willing to like talk about different ideas and hear different ideas. And when my husband and I travel to other countries, like we love to find out what are people thinking about politics, what's happening politically in the country. We might share some ideas, but we're also curious. So you can have a political discussion which is engaged and expansive, right? Like expansive, like we're opening our minds. But most of the political dialogue happening now, it seems, right? And I know in families this happens a lot, is not that way. It's like one way, it's angry, it's limiting, it's putting down the other side, which is different than being like, I really don't understand the other side, is different than how could they be so stupid, right? Which is kind of where we are. So I guess I think I just said a whole lot of stuff because, again, if you are somebody who likes to engage in politics, it might be really useful to start thinking about how you are talking about people who have the opposite view. And a boundary for yourself could be to stay open-minded and curious. And if you can't do that and you don't want to do it, might not be the right time to talk about it, right? Okay. So that was one example where you have a family member or a couple who go on and on. A totally different example would be having a significant partner and you're going to your significant partner's home or family's home for the holidays, and you know that they are on the other side of the political spectrum than you, and you know they like to talk about politics, and you're worried because you find it hard to keep your mouth shut if you really disagree, but you also don't want to get into a shouting match. So the important thing there is to have alignment with your partner, for you and your partner to go in aligned about how to handle some of these situations. So the boundary, right? The appropriate boundary is like, you're my partner. You're the person that's important to me. I want to go and be with your family. I know it's important to you, but I also would like to have some boundaries around if the discussion goes in this direction. And those boundaries that you and your partner agree on could be, we'll go out for a walk. We'll get up and go help in the kitchen. Be a little more assertive of, hey, we'd like to stay off this topic, but the appropriate alignment is with your primary partner. Hoping that makes sense. And if you and your partner don't agree on the approach to this, it's a boundary issue between the two of you. It's not a boundary issue about the politics of the family or how the family deals with politics. So the work then is in the negotiations, right, or the discussion with your partner around your needs, your desires, and their needs and desires, and how you come to a compromise or some kind of acceptable solution. And again, in these discussions, it's really helpful to validate the other person's point of view while also holding to your own, right? That's the tricky area with boundaries. And when we can't do that, it's very often about a negative core belief that we probably have had most of our lives that's driving the problem we're having, holding to our feelings, beliefs, needs, values, and validating the other person's, right? So, if you haven't taken my boundary quiz, give it a try. It highlights actually your positive core statement that might reflect a negative core statement. Link is in the description below. Now, I also want to say here, I'm going to put out a quick video on the hug and roll method of boundary setting. So I'll try to come back and link that here, but subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed, and you'll be notified when new videos come out. Okay, what boundaries help you navigate this space, whether you're one of those people who like to talk about it or not? Put that in the comments below. Let me know. If you found this video useful, please give it a like. And I'm going to link some of my other boundary videos like right around here, so you can check those out. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next week.